Today, I'm on the north side of Dublin. I'm in Coolmine at School Oliver, a Gael school. And yes, they do allow me to cross the Liffey occasionally. But anyway, there's a pond being dug in the background. By the way, they gave me a cup of tea, aren't they wonderful? But I'm going to introduce you to some people you may have met before, and maybe one or two you haven't met. So let's go have a chat with them. Okay, so the first one you're going to meet is John Kybert, whom you've met many times before. And we've got Rob Gondola with us as well. Rob, do you want to join John there for a minute? And you're going to tell me you're going to be in charge of digging the pond, yeah?
Well, I'm not going to be in charge of digging it. I'm going to be supervising the guy driving the digger.
Oh, okay.
So we're going to shape it, and we're going to say like how deep it needs to be, and the profile on it, you know, so the slope, how steep or how gentle the slopes need to be, where the well is going to go, so that's the deeper part of the pond. And then I'll probably take over then when it comes to putting in the underlay, the protective underlay, and then the liner, and then we'll do a protective overlay. And then we've got our big 1-ton bag of lovely pea gravel there to go in on top of it then to make it look nice. And then hopefully if it's still bright at that stage, we'll get some pond soil in and we'll get our plants in, and we're good to go. Job's a good one.
Okay, so despite what you say, you really are in charge. Tell the truth.
Really. There's no one in charge here.
Oh, okay.
He better be, because I haven't a clue what we're doing.
Well, there you heard it from the horse's mouth, folks. John hasn't a clue. Rob says he's not in charge. And I'm just here to record what's going on. Let's see what happens.
So we have the underlay down and the pond liner is in. So this is our EPDM rubber. It's the best stuff you can get on the market for wildlife ponds, garden ponds and school ponds, just because of its flexibility and its ease of use. You know, it's heavy, but it's not as heavy as things like bentonite clay for people who want to go down the route of like natural ponds. So what we've got to do now is we're going to do a second layer of the underlay, so the pond fleece. We're going to roll it over the top again in another 3 strips, and essentially what we're going to form is then the pond liner sandwich, and that's just it's probably overkill, but it's just yet another added level of protection for the liner. So we have it protected from the bottom, from the sides now, and then from the top, and that should essentially protect the liner when we start loading the big ornamental rocks in here later. Some of this lovely ornamental golden quartzite type sand stuff that's going to go in as well, and around the edges and things like that. And then the last thing we're going to do then is plant up. So a lot of people ask questions like, why do they put pea gravel or stone or rock or whatever into a pond? Can't you just leave it with the black liner? And the answer is yeah, absolutely, it's personal choice. However, when you introduce things like the pond soil and the rock and the stone and the washed gravel and stuff like that, you create even greater surface area, so it gives little places for the beneficial bacteria in the pond to establish and to hide out and to hang on. And that's exactly what you need in wildlife ponds like these, where you're not going to be introducing like mechanical filtration like a pump or UV to clean the water, you know. So you need your beneficial bacteria in there to, you know, compete with the algae for nutrients and to encourage the plants to grow, you know, and just for like all the microorganisms to feed on as well. So you know, it sounds very complex. It's not really, but these are all the things that you should be considering when you're going to put a pond in. Like, it's perfectly fine just to use the liner, but we just tend to go full bore, and that's generally because somebody else is paying for it, not me.
Thanks. Okay, Rob, other than weighing down the lining, do those rocks serve any other purpose?
Yeah, well, they just make microhabitats for some of the wildlife that's going to end up living in here. There's like little mini caves and other pockets. You know, and before we completely fill it, we'll be chopping and changing, moving things around. But yeah, so the idea is that, you know, it's just, it increases surface area, it's attachment points for like snails, and algae will obviously grow in it, which then our biofilms will grow in it, which the things like snails and the other detritivores like the water louse and things will all feed from as well. So, you know, it's making microhabitats within the pond habitat itself. Obviously the water in under those stones will be cooler than the water in other parts of the pond, so the animals can choose to thermoregulate, so they'll move between hot water and cold water themselves as they see fit. And it's nice, you know, so like it's a nice way to demarcate like the deeper parts of the pond for the kids when they're going to be in pond dipping, you know, so that they can look down into what's essentially looks a bit like a well. You know, and that's it. So like for aesthetic purposes, it looks nice because we're using the really old granite from the old wall here, the old estate wall. And then, you know, it offers microhabitats for the wildlife, and as well, the teachers know where the deep bits are and the kids know where the deep bits are just by looking at where the big stones are. So the rest of this we're going to fill in with the smaller gravel now, once we're happy with the design of the rocks. So I'm not happy at it already just looking at it here, so I'm going to go in and move a few more around for a minute. So but then it's going to be gravel in, then the pond soil is going to go into the pockets where the plants are going to go in, and then hopefully we're going to be able to fill this bad boy. Once the pond is full or 90% full, then we're going to be able to trim the liner, doing the finishing touches, and then the fencing's going to go up, and then job's a good one, and we're going home.
Nice easy job.
Yeah, nice easy job. A few hours to go yet.
Thanks very much, Rob. Tell me about those two bare patches at the bottom that you haven't completely covered in.
Yeah, so the reason why we do this, so that's pond soil that's down there, so it's this particular type of soil that's very nutrient poor, so it's good for pond plants and for rooting in, but it's not great for, you know, algae to grow with because it's so nutrient poor. So the idea why we have it down the bottom there is when we put in the oxygenator, so that's hornwort that we have, it's a native oxygenator. Looks like a big bushy fox's tail almost. Very frondy, very fine, and it bubbles oxygen into the water, so it's essential for keeping the water clean and clear. So we're going to plant it essentially. We've got, I think we have 6 or 8 pots of hornwort, and essentially what we're going to do is we're going to take them out of the pots because they're in clay, and we're just going to drop them down on top of that substrate, and that will allow them to anchor then during the winter, take root in the soil. But realistically what we want is we want the kids to be able to see right down to the bottom of the pond. So it just means that the hornwort, while it's still very active, it's going to be in bunches and kind of, you know, it'll still, you get that nice, because it does get quite tall, it'll grow towards the surface. It's also really good if you use it as a floating plant, but it just means that, you know, you kind of get that almost like a marine effect, where you can see the light through the plant as it grows up, because it is frondy and it will move, like if the kids are dipping and the water, there's movement in the water and stuff like that. So you know, it's just so that we don't have the whole well area here in the middle completely dominated with vegetation. It's nice to be able to see straight to the bottom, you know, and it's great for the kids, because then you can see the things that, you know, will escape or retreat or hide into deeper parts of the pond when they're in dipping. And again, it's only 2 feet deep, so like a net with a nice long handle on it, even if it's been done by the teacher, should help them be able to get at the animals that are hanging out in that part of the water. But again, like we said, most wildlife ponds, most of the wildlife will live between a foot, so 30 centimetres, and 10 centimetres deep. So it's the kind of the upper shelf part of the pond here. But it's nice to have the deeper bit. It offers a buffer in extremes of environment, so temperature, in terms of drought, and then in the winter in terms of, you know, it's a big enough pond that it won't freeze solid, but the edges might freeze, so the animals will migrate down to the bottom of the pond where the water's deeper, you know, and they'll be safe from ice. So that's really it. You know, it's aesthetics. It's also a little bit of ecology thrown in as well, and it's a little bit of fun for the kids, I suppose.
Thanks for that, Rob. As always, you're a mine of information. Great stuff.
Other tall things, these are our lovely yellow flag iris. So they're going to be planted in the shallower margins here.
I was actually saying,
And just give us the taller stuff at the back. But all the plants we use, they're all native plants.
Thanks for watching Wildlife Wednesday, folks. I hope you've enjoyed this episode. If you did, please give it a like and subscribe to the channel if you're so inclined. For now, take care, stay safe, and I'll see you soon.